If you're over 60 and you've noticed something's off, listen closely. If your erections aren't what they used to be. If your energy feels like it's stuck in first gear. If you're avoiding intimacy, not because you want to, but because your body doesn't respond the way it once did. Then this isn't just about aging. Because here's the truth, I've sat across from thousands of men who came to me whispering the same words, "Doc, I don't feel like myself anymore." Some said it with frustration. Some said it with shame. Some couldn't even say it, they just sat there, staring at the floor, hoping I'd understand. I always did. Because I've been hearing this story for over 30 years. One of the first men who really stuck with me was Thomas. He was 69. Retired school principal. Kind eyes. Firm handshake. The kind of man who still opened the car door for his wife after 40 years of marriage. But when he sat in my office, he wasn't the confident man his family saw. He looked defeated. "Dr. James," he said, barely above a whisper, "I love my wife, but I can't be close to her anymore. My body's not listening. And I don't know what to do." He thought it was his age. He blamed it on stress. On getting older. On life slowing down. But what if I told you the problem wasn't aging at all? What if I told you it was something simple, and fixable, that no one had ever pointed out? Because here's what most men don't realize, you're not broken. You're not done. Your body isn't giving up on you. It's asking for help. And most of the time, that cry for help comes in the form of a silent deficiency, in nutrients your body used to have plenty of. Nutrients that quietly decline as you age. Nutrients that control everything from blood flow, to stamina, to testosterone, to your very sense of masculinity. These aren't obscure compounds or new age gimmicks. They're 3 specific vitamins that most doctors won't mention in your 10-minute checkup, but they're absolutely essential if you want to feel like yourself again. And I'm going to show you what they are, how they work, and the one dangerous mistake most men make when they start taking them. But first, if any part of this message is already hitting home, if something inside you is saying, "Yeah, that's me," then stay right here. Because what you're about to learn could be the spark that changes everything. Not someday. Not next year. But starting tonight. Let's begin. My name is Dr. James. And for the past 32 years, I've been sitting face to face with men just like you. Not behind a desk. Not rushing through 10-minute appointments. But listening, really listening, to the quiet, sometimes painful truths that most men are too proud, too polite, or too ashamed to say out loud. I'm not just a men's health doctor. I'm the guy you come to when things get personal. When the spark fades. When your confidence slips. When the man you see in the mirror doesn't quite match the man you still feel like inside. I've worked with truck drivers, retired Marines, farmers, CEOs, pastors, grandfathers, husbands of 50 years. And no matter how different their lives were, their stories often began the same way. "Doc, something's changed." That's how I met Harold, a 71-year-old who had been married for over 4 decades. On the outside, everything looked fine. He was active. Ate his greens. Played pickleball. Loved his wife deeply. But when he came to see me, he leaned in and said, "I feel like I'm fading. Like I'm disappearing, as a man." And that hit me. Because I knew he wasn't alone. Most men don't talk about these things, not to their friends, not even to their wives. But they feel it. In the quiet frustration. The late-night Google searches. The excuses they make to avoid intimacy, not because they don't want it, but because they're afraid they'll fail. And here's what makes it worse, a lot of doctors write it off. It's just age. It happens. Get used to it. I never accepted that answer. Because I've seen what happens when a man is given the right tools. The right information. The right support. I've seen 60, 70, even 80-year-old men walk back into my office with a grin, a spark in their eye, and a quiet kind of pride they hadn't felt in years. And no, it wasn't from a little blue pill or a risky hormone shot. It started with the basics. With real, biological truths that most people overlook. It started with understanding how your body really works after 60, and how to work with it, not against it. That's why I'm here. Not to give you hype. Not to sell you magic. But to tell you the truth. The kind of truth that's helped thousands of men rebuild not just their energy, but their identity. Because once you understand what your body's missing, everything changes. Your mood. Your stamina. Your confidence in the bedroom, and outside of it. And it all starts with something your body used to make naturally, without you even thinking about it. But now, it's quietly running low. Let me show you what it is. Let me tell you something most men never hear, because no one ever bothers to explain it this way. It's not that you don't want intimacy anymore. It's not that you've lost interest. The truth is, your desire is still there. But your body's ability to act on it has slowed down. And that gap between your mind and your body? That's where the frustration lives. It's not in your head. It's not just old age. It's not your fault. I've said this to hundreds of patients, and every time, I see the same look in their eyes, relief. Because here's the real story, most men over 60 are not suffering from low desire. They're suffering from low circulation, low energy, and low hormone support. Let me break it down in simple terms. When you were in your 20s and 30s, your body was running like a well-oiled machine. Your blood vessels were open and responsive. Your testosterone was strong and steady. Your energy came naturally. You didn't have to think about it. You didn't have to try to feel like a man, you just were. But over time, your body starts to change. Not because you did something wrong, but because nature slows the systems down. And one of the biggest systems that takes the hit. Blood flow. Your blood vessels lose their flexibility. Circulation drops. That means oxygen, nutrients, and blood don't move as freely, especially to the areas that matter most. And without strong blood flow, even the best desire in the world can't do much. But that's not all. Your energy levels also start to slip. Not because you're lazy, but because your body isn't converting fuel like it used to. That's why you can sleep all night and still feel tired at 10 a.m. Why your brain feels foggy. Why you just don't feel on. And then there's testosterone, the foundation of male vitality. It doesn't vanish overnight, but it does decline year by year. And low testosterone doesn't just affect performance. It affects your mood, your drive, your sense of purpose. Here's the good news. In many cases, these aren't permanent changes. They're not signs that your best years are over. They're signs that your body is missing key building blocks, and once you give those back to it, the results can be powerful. It all starts with 3 specific nutrients. They're simple. Natural. And most importantly, your body already knows how to use them. And the first one? It used to be free. It came from the sky. You just had to step outside. Let me show you why this one vitamin is the spark that can jumpstart your entire system, starting with your circulation. Let's start with the first one. It's the most overlooked. The one your body used to make for free, without even trying. Vitamin D, the circulation spark plug. I want to tell you about Paul. Paul was 67 when he walked into my office. Former Navy, proud grandfather, still mowed his own lawn, still fixed his own truck. From the outside, he looked like the same strong guy his buddies had always known. But inside, he felt different. He sat down, looked me in the eye, and said, "Dr. James. I still love my wife. I still want her. But my body just won't respond." There wasn't shame in his voice, just frustration. That quiet kind that builds up over time. I ran a few tests. His heart was fine. His cholesterol was okay. But his vitamin D levels were shockingly low. Now here's what most people miss. Vitamin D isn't just for bones. It's one of the key drivers of blood flow. It boosts nitric oxide, a compound that helps your blood vessels open up and deliver oxygen-rich blood, especially to the areas that define your masculinity. Low vitamin D means poor circulation. Poor circulation means weak or inconsistent erections, low energy, and that frustrating feeling of being off without knowing why. And here's the kicker. Over 40% of men over 60 are deficient in it. Even the healthy ones. Even the ones who eat right and take walks every day. Why? Because as you age, your skin becomes less efficient at converting sunlight into usable vitamin D, plus, you're likely spending less time outdoors, or covering up more when you do. So what happened with Paul? We got him on a high-quality vitamin D3 supplement. Nothing crazy. Just consistent. He also started spending 15 minutes in the morning sun, no sunglasses, no sunscreen, just natural light on his skin. Within weeks, things began to shift. He came back 2 months later and said, "Doc, I don't know if it's the sun or the pills, but my wife just called me her young man again." That's the power of fixing circulation at the source. But even if the blood starts flowing again, your body still needs the fuel to use it. That's where the second vitamin steps in. Vitamin B12, the energy generator. Now let me introduce you to Robert. Robert was 72. Retired firefighter. Big hands. Quiet voice. When he first came to see me, he looked exhausted. I asked him how he was sleeping, he said 8 hours. I asked him about his diet, nothing crazy. But then he leaned in and said, "Doc, I feel like I'm dragging myself through the day. And when it's time to be with my wife, I'm there, but I'm not there, you know." I did know. And I suspected something right away. We ran his labs, and just like I thought, he was severely deficient in vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 is critical for turning the food you eat into actual, usable energy. Without it, your body's like a car with no fuel line, you've got the gas, but nothing's moving. It also plays a huge role in creating red blood cells, those little carriers that bring oxygen to your muscles, your brain, and yes, your sexual organs. Without B12, everything slows down. You feel mentally foggy, physically tired, emotionally dull. You may not even notice it at first, it creeps up on you. But one day you look up and wonder, why does everything feel like such an effort? Here's the tricky part, as you age, your stomach produces less acid, meaning even if you eat meat, eggs, or dairy, your body might not absorb enough B12 from food alone. So what did we do with Robert? We switched him to a methylcobalamin form of B12, the active form that your body can actually use. He took it daily with breakfast, and within 3 weeks, the difference was real. He came in grinning and said, "Doc, I took my grandkids to the zoo last weekend and didn't need a nap after. And I'll just say, things at home are better too." That's the difference real energy makes. But there's still one more piece to this puzzle, something that protects your body, fuels your hormones, and keeps the engine running long-term. Vitamin E, the fertility defender. I'll never forget James. Yes, his name was the same as mine. James was a 70-year-old retired pilot. Tall, silver-haired, sharp as ever. But he came to me looking confused and discouraged. He said, "Dr. James, I've done everything right. I eat clean. I exercise. But I'm still not bouncing back. My motivation's shot. I feel flat. And, honestly, I just don't feel like a man anymore." It hit me hard, because James wasn't doing anything wrong. He just didn't know what his body needed at this stage of life. His labs told the story: low testosterone, signs of chronic inflammation, and, you guessed it, very low vitamin E. Vitamin E is often misunderstood. People think it's just for skin or fertility. But in men over 60, it's so much more. It's one of the most powerful antioxidants your body can use. It fights off the silent damage that builds up in your blood vessels and reproductive system over time. It helps keep your arteries flexible. It protects your testosterone. It improves circulation. And it reduces oxidative stress, the hidden force that drains your energy and wrecks your performance. We added in natural vitamin E from whole foods, almonds, sunflower seeds, olive oil, and backed it up with a high-quality supplement. A few months later, James walked in with a smile on his face and a quiet confidence in his step. He said, "Doc, I'm not trying to be 30 again. But I finally feel like me again." That's what happens when you stop chasing symptoms and start giving your body what it's been asking for. So now you've heard the three. Vitamin D, to open the blood vessels and restore circulation. Vitamin B12, to fuel your body and brain with real energy. Vitamin E, to protect your hormones and keep your system strong. Each one matters. But together, they do something even more powerful. They create what I call your vitality triangle: circulation, energy, and hormonal strength working in sync. And when they're aligned, everything changes. Not just in your body, but in your mindset, your connection with your partner, your confidence when you look in the mirror. But before we talk about how to combine them, there's something else you need to know. Because most men who try this, don't feel a thing. Why? They're making one big mistake that cancels out all their progress. Let me show you what it is, and how to fix it. Years ago, I had a patient named Walter. He was 68, a retired high school coach, big voice, bigger heart, and the kind of man who always told other people to take care of themselves, but rarely did it for himself. When Walter first came to me, he was taking vitamin D, said he read online that it helped with energy. A few months later, he added B12 because a buddy told him it was good for mental clarity. Eventually, after one of our sessions, he started taking vitamin E too. But here's what's interesting. He didn't notice a big change at first. It wasn't until he started taking all three together, consistently, in the right forms, that he came back into my office grinning ear to ear and said, "Doc, I don't know what you did, but I feel like I've got a new engine." That's not magic. That's synergy. Each of these vitamins plays its own role, but when you combine them, they amplify each other. It's not 1 + 1 + 1 is equal to 3. It's more like 1 × 2 × 3 is equal to a whole new level of vitality. Here's what I mean. Vitamin D helps your blood vessels open up and improve circulation. Vitamin B12 boosts red blood cell production and energy delivery, so the oxygen your body can move now actually gets used. Vitamin E protects those blood vessels, stabilizes testosterone, and reduces the inflammation that would otherwise slow everything back down. Think of it like this. Vitamin D opens the highway. B12 fuels the car. And vitamin E keeps the road smooth and the engine running clean. Together, they form what I call the vitality triangle: circulation, energy, and hormonal support, working in harmony. And when those three are aligned, your body doesn't just work better, it remembers how to feel like you again. You start waking up rested. Your mind feels clearer. Your stamina improves, not just in the bedroom, but in life. You feel stronger, steadier, more present. Your partner notices. You notice. But here's the thing, most men never get there. Not because the vitamins don't work, but because they're missing one crucial detail that cancels out all their progress. And if you're not careful, you might be doing it too. Let me tell you what that mistake is, and how to fix it, starting tonight. One morning, a man named Gerald walked into my office carrying a plastic grocery bag. He was 74. Sharp, thoughtful, the kind of guy who reads the labels, does the research, tries to do everything right. He sat down, reached into that bag, and pulled out 7 bottles of supplements. Lined them up right on my desk like a little army. "Dr. James," he said, "I've been taking all of these for months. But I still feel tired. Foggy. And honestly, nothing's improving down there." I could hear the frustration in his voice. And I knew right away, he was making the same mistake I see almost every day. It's not that he wasn't trying. It's that he was trying wrong. Here's the hard truth. Most men think just taking vitamins is enough. But it's not. The biggest mistake I see men over 60 make is this. They buy the cheap stuff, synthetic, low absorption, poor quality versions, thinking all vitamins are the same. But they're not. Let's break it down. Vitamin D comes in two forms, D2 and D3. D2 is cheaper, but D3 is far more effective and longer lasting in your system. Your body needs D3, not D2, to actually boost circulation and testosterone. Vitamin B12 often comes as cyanocobalamin. Sounds fancy, right? But your aging body struggles to convert it. What you need instead is methylcobalamin, the active form your body can use immediately. Vitamin E. A lot of supplements use synthetic alpha-tocopherol, which doesn't have the full spectrum your body needs. Natural, mixed tocopherols, those are what support testosterone, protect your blood vessels, and fight inflammation. And even when men get the right forms, they make the second biggest mistake. They take them inconsistently. One pill Monday. Forget on Tuesday. Maybe remember Thursday. That doesn't work. Your body doesn't heal through guesswork. It needs rhythm. Daily input. Steady support creates lasting change. So here's what I told Gerald. You're not broken. You're just not absorbing the support you're giving yourself. We cleared out the junk, replaced it with high-quality versions, and built a simple, consistent routine he could actually stick to. 1 month later, Gerald came back with a quiet smile. Sleeping better. More energy. Clearer mind. And in his words, feeling like a man again. Not because he tried harder. But because he finally did it right. Now that you know the trap, and how to avoid it, there's just one thing left to do. Put it into action. Let me show you the exact routine I've used with dozens of men to help them restore their energy, performance, and vitality, starting with one small change tomorrow morning. When I work with older men, one of the first things they ask me, usually after we've talked for a while, and they've finally exhaled, is this. Dr. James, can you just tell me what to do? Not a 20-step plan. Not some complicated chart. Just something real. Simple. Doable. Something that fits into the life they already have. So let me tell you about Frank. Frank is 66. Former carpenter. Built his entire house with his own 2 hands. But when he came to me, his energy was low. His sleep was broken. And in his words, I feel like I'm moving through molasses, document. We didn't overhaul his life. We just made small, steady changes, built around the 3 vitamins we've been talking about. Here's the exact routine we started with. You can try this too. Every morning. Frank starts his day with a full glass of water and a B12 supplement, the methylcobalamin form, taken with a protein-rich breakfast. Eggs, Greek yogurt, or a little turkey sausage. Why? Because B12 absorbs better when taken with food, especially protein. Then he heads outside. Even just 15 minutes in the morning sun helps stimulate natural vitamin D production. He doesn't wear sunglasses. Doesn't lather on sunscreen. Just lets the light hit his skin. If the weather's bad, or if it's winter, he takes a high-quality D3 supplement with breakfast instead. Later in the day, usually around lunch, he adds in vitamin E. Not synthetic. Not alpha only. He uses a mixed tocopherol version, or gets it from a handful of almonds or sunflower seeds, and a drizzle of olive oil over spinach or dark greens. That's it. No extremes. No detox teas. No long list of pills. Just consistency. Simplicity. Real nutrients. And within 3 weeks, Frank told me something I'll never forget. He said, "Doc, I didn't realize how much I had faded until I started feeling like myself again." His energy came back. His mind felt clearer. He started saying yes to things he used to avoid, time with his grandkids, walks with his wife, even intimacy he thought had passed him by. This wasn't magic. It was biology, working with his body instead of against it. You don't need a dozen pills or a brand new lifestyle. You just need a steady rhythm. The right forms of the right nutrients. And the belief that your health is still in your hands. Because it is. Now, there's one last thing I want to leave you with. Not advice. Not instructions. But a message. One that every man over 60 deserves to hear, but rarely does. Let's talk about that. If you've made it this far, I want to speak to you, not as a doctor, but as a man who's spent over 3 decades sitting across from other men who've quietly asked themselves the same question. Is this just how it is now? I've seen that question behind tired eyes. I've heard it in hushed voices. I've felt the weight of it in the silence between sentences. And every time, my answer has been the same. No. This is not the end of your story. You see, most people talk about aging like it's a slow fade out. A chapter closing. A steady march into less. But I've sat across from men who chose something different. Men who stopped accepting decline as their destiny. Men who didn't want to be 30 again, they just wanted to feel like themselves again. And you know what? They did. Not with shortcuts. Not with miracle pills. But with knowledge. With action. With belief that they still had more to give, to their wives, their kids, their grandkids, to themselves. You've learned today about 3 simple, powerful vitamins, D, B12, and E. You've seen how they restore circulation, reignite energy, and protect the hormones that make you feel alive. But more importantly, you've seen what happens when a man chooses to stop drifting and starts rebuilding. That's what this is really about. It's not just about erections. Or energy. Or testosterone. It's about taking back your sense of control. Waking up in the morning and knowing you're not at the mercy of your age, you're in partnership with your body. And that body? It's still got fire left in it. So here's my challenge to you. Start. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Today. Go outside. Let the sun hit your skin. Take your B12 with a good breakfast. Grab a handful of almonds with your lunch. And do it again tomorrow. 1 day becomes 3. 3 becomes a week. A week becomes momentum. And momentum brings you back. If this video spoke to you, if something inside you stirred while watching, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button. Subscribe. Turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next. And leave a comment below. Let me know, what part hit home for you? What's your next step? What do you want me to cover next? Because this isn't just a video. This is a space for men like you. For truth. For strength. For real change. And if you want to help support this mission, to reach more men, to give them the tools they've been missing, consider making a small donation to the channel. Every bit helps us go further, go deeper, and keep showing up for the men who need it most. You're not alone. You're not broken. And you're definitely not finished. Take care of yourself. And I'll see you in the next one.